Stopped at one on Cumberland?
No, I stopped at the one on,
In your neighborhood?
yeah, Lovell Road.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
You look good. You sound good. You're ready.
Well, I don't know about looking good, but hey, it's the best we can.
All right. And we'll do your countdown
Okay.
here.
Thank you, Gina.
And you will be on in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening and welcome into another edition of One-on-One with Hubert Smith here on your community television of Knoxville. We are broadcasting on Comcast Channel 12, Knowledge and Charter Channel 6, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and streaming around the globe on CTV Knox, that's spelled CTVKNOX.org. And one reason why that website might be important is because we're going to be talking about something tonight that's not only local, but actually is global. We're going to tonight be talking about Parkinson's disease and living with Parkinson's disease with my friend Dan Andrews. Dan, good evening.
Good evening, Hubert.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So if you know of someone who's living with Parkinson's disease, or you might be a family who has a member with Parkinson's disease, call somebody and tell them to turn on the stream, ctvknox.org, or one of the cable channels in Knox County. This is a topic that I have become more familiar with as I spend time with my friend Dan Andrews, and so we're going to be talking tonight about that. We're going to be talking about the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and also talking a little bit about his return to network television and how all that is intertwined. So hope that you will please stay tuned. Parkinson's disease is a disorder of the brain that leads to shaking, or sometimes called tremors, and difficulty with walking, movement, and coordination. It's a motor system disorder that causes tremors in the body, making it difficult to eat, walk, or sit still without jerking in some cases. And Parkinson's disease affects more than a person's physical movements. The change in brain chemistry also affects their emotions and sleeping patterns. And although there is no known cure for Parkinson's disease, I don't think, there are several drugs that may help reduce the tremors and things like that. So given that as a backdrop, Dan, I'm just going to turn it over to you and introduce yourself to people who don't know you, although there are a few people who probably don't know you, and then just kind of start wherever you'd like to begin with that as a backdrop.
For starters, my name is Dan Andrews. I'm a reporter in Knox County. I work for the Knoxville Focus. I do have Parkinson's. I've had Parkinson's for a number of years, and Hubert's right, there is no cure for Parkinson's. What there are is there's drugs that help alleviate. Like, you might be looking at me right now and thinking, why isn't he shaking? Why isn't he moving? Well, I'm on a very good battery of drugs, of medications that are working pretty well for me. And as long as I'm on my medication, I take it at certain times, I'm really good. I can live an active lifestyle. So I'm at the lowest level of Parkinson's. Parkinson's, it doesn't get better, it only gets worse over time when someone has it. Sometimes it's very small, sometimes it's very rapid. It all depends on the individual. It's a very unique disease because it really doesn't affect no two people the same. I mean, like for me, Hubert mentioned some of the things that in his explanation of Parkinson's that affect me greatly, like the sleeping pattern. For me, that affects me greatly, but for some people, it might not be as much. For me, I don't shake as much as I have what's called rigidity, which is very hard to free-flowing movement, and that's what happens. That's one of my major symptoms. So with that, let's talk about certain things that's going on, why I'm here.
Okay.
The reason why I'm here is because I'm pretty excited. On Thursday night coming up this Thursday coming up, Michael J. Fox, who is literally a lifesaver to me, will be premiering on a new show on NBC, the Michael J. Fox Show. And it's about Michael J. Fox, who's a reporter going back into the news business, being a reporter with Parkinson's. And since I have Parkinson's and I am a reporter, I even was a TV spot journalist in New York a while back, I'm really looking forward to the show. I'm really hoping it's successful because, as Hubert said, everything is intertwined. I mean, when people think of Michael J. Fox, they think of Parkinson's, and they are more open to it. And it's a great discussion opener. It helps us get more funding. I mean, anything that brings light to Parkinson's is a good thing for me. And I'm very open about it. There's a lot of people, when they first get it, they're very quiet about it because they don't want people knowing, and I respect that. Me, on the other hand, I've always been, being someone who's a reporter, being someone who's out there, I've taken a different approach. I am 100% open about it, 100% vocal about it, and I'm always trying to raise awareness and get the message out. So with that, that's why I'm here.
Well, that's a good background. A couple things, dig into some things about you personally, Dan.
Sure.
You said you've had it for a number of years, approximately how long?
Well, I'm thinking about 3 years because what happens is it doesn't happen right. You don't wake up and have it. There's things that lead up to it. So I don't know the exact time I got it. I know when I was diagnosed, that was about 3 years ago.
And you were, or let me ask the question. Sure. What were you experiencing to cause you to be diagnosed?
Sure. Good question. The main thing, I woke up one morning and I couldn't wiggle my fingers. Like I could wiggle it now. I literally could not wiggle.
Independently.
Right. Like with this hand, it's all better. I could wiggle. I couldn't wiggle my right hand fingers. And I just, I Googled it. Because when you have something wrong, you go to Google. And I couldn't find it on Google. I was like, this is bad. And I went to a bunch of doctors and they're like, maybe it's psychosomatic. And, for a while I thought it was psychosomatic. So
what does that mean?
Psychosomatic means it's psychological. It's like, it's in your mind. It's not a physical condition, it's a mental condition.
Okay.
So there was, but my grandfather had Parkinson's. So after I spoke at length with my doctor. We tried a number of different medications. And he's like, you know what? You're a young guy. I'm just gonna give you a very low dosage of Parkinson's medication, carbidopa. Just take it for 2 weeks because I don't want to screw around with your biological system. But if anything changes, come back and tell me. The next morning, I was able to run up a flight of stairs for the first time in a while, and I knew right then and there. And I went back and I was so happy. I was like, "We know what it is." He's like, "That, yeah, well, that's a good thing." I was like, "This is a great thing." He goes, "It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. It's a good thing that we know we could do a rapid treatment, start to get active on it. It's a bad thing because there is no cure, and you're going to find over time Parkinson's is a very bad disease. It's not like the cold, it's not like the flu, it's not like a lot of things that have cures. There is no cure for it, but we can do steps to minimize the side effects of Parkinson's. That's what I've been doing."
So is this hereditary? Because you mentioned that your grandfather had it, so make that connection.
Sure. Michael J. Fox said it best. Genetics, it is believed to be genetics. Genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Meaning, the one thing we don't know about Parkinson's, we know there's a strong possibility that it's hereditary. But if some people get it, like me, I'm in my 30s, some people get it in their late 60s. So what actually causes that snap? And the best analogy, like I said, the best theory that is going in the industry is that genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger.
Now, I did just enough research, and I've done a little bit before because you and I spent a lot of time together, but I did a little more extensively last night just to prepare for this interview. And it says, according to the Mayo Clinic, scientists don't know what exactly causes the disease, but some of the symptoms are caused that produce dopamine,
right,
which is a chemical messenger in the brain, and so those chemical messengers die or become impaired.
Right. And the best analogy to layman's terms that I experience is with my dopamine, and it's like a cell phone. Take a cell phone. Sometimes the signal is 5 bars, and you can communicate real easy. Well, that's the brain communicating with my body. Sometimes on the medication, like right now, the medication is good, everything's going great. But sometimes you go out into the woods and the cell phone signal starts to go down and lower, lower, lower. that's when I come off my medication. You know, the cell phone signal between my brain and my body is like very intermittent. So I might want to move my arm up like this, and I'm just locked. Like just to put my earpiece on, my Bluetooth on, right now it'd be easy. But later on tonight, when my dopamine goes down lower because I don't have my medication in me, I will literally be struggling like this to try and get it because this brain signal is not going through free-flowingly.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Dan Andrews. His face might be familiar. You may or may not know his name, but Dan is a local reporter. He covers events for the Knoxville Focus. He writes, he tweets, he blogs, and he also takes a lot of pictures for the newspaper. So he covers local government primarily. Is that correct? Right. Okay. And every now and then a feature story will appear in the newspaper.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's what he does. But today he's here to talk about living with Parkinson's disease. And if you missed the beginning of the program, Dan has been diagnosed for 4 or 5 years maybe.
Right, 3 to 5.
3 to 5 years. And so we're talking about his life with Parkinson's disease. And this is in conjunction with Michael J. Fox, who has Parkinson's, who is now returning to network television. That will debut on our local NBC station next week. And Dan is scheduled to be featured on the 10 News at 5 on next Thursday, is it?
Right.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
So talk about that. What's scheduled to be on?
It's scheduled to be on. So, you know, anything could happen in the news industry, but right now I'm scheduled to be on Thursday, this coming up Thursday on BAR to do basically what we're doing right now. Just give a quick talk about what it's like living with Parkinson's, you know. And one of the reasons why is, as I mentioned before, the TV show that's coming out this Thursday with Michael J. Fox. He's a TV reporter going back into the business, living with Parkinson's. I am a print reporter that lives with Parkinson's, so there's a lot of similarities. So, you know, if there's ever an expert on this field at this time in Knox County, I'm probably it, because I can't think of anybody else in the news media that has Parkinson's.
You and I were having a conversation a few nights ago.
Yeah.
And you said something to me that stuck with me, and you said that people with Parkinson's disease, some choose to live their life in the shadows.
Right.
And then some choose, like yourself, to get the most you can out of every day.
Right.
Share that with the audience, please, if you would.
Sure. I mean, you know, some people, and this is the same with many diseases, like some people, like with AIDS, some people are very open and vocal about it. Some people, you don't know, they just keep quiet. Different people have different approaches. Some people look at it as you know, Parkinson's as an embarrassing thing. And there are times that it is embarrassing when I need to have help, like, you know, like I have to ask people for help a lot more than when I used to. Simple things, like, let's talk about yesterday. Hubert and I were talking at a table, and I was having a hard time opening up my medication bottle. And it was a little frustrating, but I asked Hubert for help. He's like, sure, no problem. You know, we are trained, you know, to be independent, people in general. You know, people, you know, at least me personally, I've always been an independent person. I've always been able to take care of myself. So when I have to ask people for help, it's a little bit of it's a little bit of a different thing.
Frustrating, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. So now times that by 100. So that's when I need somebody's help. That's when I need to explain that I have Parkinson's. Now, if you don't need to explain it, some people, you know, they don't want people to know. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe there's also a lot of psychological. I mean, you know, people go through everybody has a different approach to it. My approach is that basically, I know that I'm on a limited time. I know that, you know, I'm getting progressively worse, and that, you know, I might 6 months from now I might be in a wheelchair. 6 years from now I might still be just as good as I am today. You know, but the thing I know is that I have a clock that's running, and I know that I got to make the most of every day, because if I don't, I might regret it later on down the road. If I don't get out there and I don't push and I don't fight for this, I don't fight for a cure, then I can't complain when I'm bedridden, maybe 6 years from now or whenever. I can't complain, you know, because if I don't speak up now, I might not be able to speak up later. now, I still have my motor neurons. I still have a lot of coordination with my medication. I can think rationally. I could do that right now. I don't really know what the future. I mean, nobody knows what the future is going to tell. We could walk outside and get hit by a car. That's just reality. But I gotta look at the reality. Is I know I have a disease. I know the disease is progressive, and I know I gotta do everything I can while I can to fight it, to find a cure, and to make sure that the future generations don't have this problem.
So let's talk about the cure.
Right.
And this will maybe lead us into talking about the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Sure. Since it is a not-for-profit
Right.
organization, we can talk about it here on community
Absolutely.
television. So what is some of the work that is being done there?
There's a lot of work. See, it's all intertwined. Let's talk about the Michael J. Fox Foundation. One of the things they do now, the pharmacy industry is an industry based on profit, which is cool. But a lot of times, if you have a drug that they say, listen, there's an 80% chance or a 90% chance of failure on this drug, they will cancel it in the clinical stages. What the Michael J. Fox Foundation will say is, listen, how much money do you need to take this drug that probably won't work and put it into trial and to go further research? I'm just going to use the hypothetical. They'll say, we need $1 million. So the Michael J. Fox Foundation will say, here's $1 million. If it doesn't work, we want to know what aspects of it does work and why it didn't work. And if it does work and you find the cure, great. You guys, that's beautiful. But if it doesn't work, we're willing to put the money up so that we can know what aspects of it does work and where we should further lead the investigation.
So when did Michael J. Fox announce or discover that he had Parkinson's?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I remember watching the show when he brought it up. He had it for about, I think, 2 years before he actually went public with it. And, it was a while ago. I don't remember the exact date, but he actually had the brain surgery and a whole bunch of things. But, he made a decision with his family to go public probably about 20 years ago. I mean, I can be off. I don't know the exact date. But I do remember watching on Entertainment Tonight. And that's one of the things that I find ironic, that I remember that so vividly. And, he just decided it's time to go public, and he went public with it, and that was a game changer.
Although at the time you had not been diagnosed.
No, I don't remember exactly when I was diagnosed. I think it was like maybe 2-3 years ago. Certain things I try and block out, because it's just the way it is. I've had it I could go back and look at my medical records, but reality is I don't want to look at that I don't want to look at a date of when I stopped living and started dying. I want to look at it like, you know what? It's like it happened. I got it. Now I got to find the cure.
So staying with the foundation.
Sure.
How involved with it are you?
I'm very involved. As a matter of fact, earlier this year I was featured in their newsletter because as Hubert does it, on Facebook, I have almost 100 friends that have joined the foundation's Facebook page. I've liked it. And I'm very, very active in, not in being a member, but in auxiliary positions. Like, for example, a lot of times people will go on the message board and ask questions that the Michael J. Fox Foundation really can't answer for legal reasons and things of that nature. Let me give you a perfect example. One night around 2 in the morning, I was on the Michael J. Fox Facebook page, which is where a lot of people go when they first find the family member or find out that they have Parkinson's. And this lady said, I have a major problem. If anybody has Parkinson's, please direct message me. And she said that her husband had left her. He just discovered he had Parkinson's, and she wanted to know what was going on in his mind. Now, something like that, the Michael J. Fox Foundation can't really answer for legal reasons, for psychological. They're not psychologists. But as a layman who has Parkinson's, I was able to contact that woman right away and explain to her exactly what that guy was probably going through, because I went through a lot of the same situations. And once she understood what he was going through, what her husband was going through, it really helped them bridge a huge gap together, because he had a lot of feelings of just anger, a lot of feelings of that he was useless, because he had a heavy stage of Parkinson's, and he was about 32 years old. I became friends with him, and we still chat on Facebook occasionally and things of that nature. So that's what I basically do. I do stuff like this. I get out in the open. I tell people I have it. I'm very vocal. If somebody has Parkinson's, and I'm usually the first person, like if a family member gets Parkinson's, I'm usually the first person they contact. Not a neurologist, but when I was in Nashville, I had a doctor who was like arthroscopic surgery. He's like, "You got Parkinson's?" He's like, he pulled me aside and he was like, "Listen, here's the deal. My grandfather has Parkinson's and it scares me every day because they say it's genetic. Tell me about it." And I chatted with him about it. I was very open about it. So that's the type of level I'm involved in the Parkinson's fight. I'm pretty much like somebody like who's, since I've experienced it, I've been there and I live with it, I can give people a really unique view. And since I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or anything like that, I don't have to worry about getting sued. I can just be blunt and honest and say, listen, here's the situation, here's where it's at, here's what's going on.
So, staying with the foundation, but also a little bit about Michael J. Fox. How is he living now?
Well, he must be living pretty good because he's got his own TV show. And I was watching it. I was watching the Coming Attractions, and it looks really good, you know. And you know, he's just really amazing. I mean, you know, my life, and this is scary. The future of my life rests in that guy's hands. I think about, you know, here's the deal. I mean, Christopher Reeve, when he was alive, everybody was concentrating on spinal and his disease.
Mm-hmm. His injury, actually.
Right, his injury.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected. Yeah, everybody, you know, for the Christopher Reeve Foundation, everybody was active. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was motivated. Reality, I'm sure a lot of people are still active, still motivated, but his loss when he passed away, a huge voice was lost when he passed away. And
his wife.
And his wife,
Yeah.
right. So that's what, and it's grim. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a grim thought, but I think about that. Will that happen with Parkinson's when Michael J. Fox passes away, or will they? You know, if there's nobody to pass the torch to keep the flame, to keep it in the spotlight, to keep donations and keep active and keep the movement alive. Sure, it'll still be there, but will it be as strong as it is right now? Probably not. You know, for Michael J. Fox to be able to go on NBC, hopefully have a hit show and just expose the living conditions and what happens with Parkinson's to millions of people on a weekly basis, to keep the topic alive, to keep the interest involved, and to keep people focused on finding a cure, that's huge.
Now, here's a far-reaching question. You may know. I'll ask. You may know the answer. Let's just say the United States. Are there any numbers of how many people suffer from Parkinson's disease?
Yeah, I think, and I could be way off, I think it was like 5 million. But see, the thing is, I have, and the same thing that Michael J. Fox has, I have early onset Parkinson's disease.
But there are millions.
Right, there are millions. There are millions.
Okay. You have early, excuse me if I interrupt, you have early onset.
Right,
Okay.
I have early onset Parkinson's, which is like extremely rare. That's why when my doctor was like, I'm going to give you this medication, but you know, I'm just going on a hunch just because your grandfather had it, but odds on out is it's not Parkinson's. And then I woke up the next day when I took the medication and I was running around for the first time in ages. I was like, this is it. So there are different levels of Parkinson's, there are different kinds of Parkinson's.
Now, you said yours was rare. Why is yours rare?
Because it's so early.
Okay.
It's so early. Most people don't have this early onset.
Now, is that from lack of diagnosis, or it just comes on like that?
No,
or?
it's just, you know, it's just genetic loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger.
Okay.
Something happened and that, you know, it could be a million things, but something happened that I got at a young age. There's no like, you know, as far as diagnosis is, you know, when you get progressively worse, it gets easier to determine what it is. I mean, my doctor, my neurologist figured out that it was when I told him the problem I was having was when I went to change the radio dial on my car, I'd be jerking like this. And he said, that's a direct sign of Parkinson's. So in the early stages, it's hard to diagnose, and it's often misdiagnosed. In the later stages, there's certain characteristics that are pretty active, that are pretty smart. But the problem is that in the early stages, it can be a million different things. because you're a young person. It's not like you're an older person.
And you're in your 30s.
Right, I'm in my 30s. I'm 39 right now. I'll just put it out there. But and at the same time, a lot of doctors aren't looking in the beginning stages at Parkinson's because the odds of it being that are so minute. They're looking at psychotropic, like is it psychological? Is it because of nerves? Is it because of other things? And then they rule out till they get to that point.
So if someone, again, the Michael J. Fox Foundation is a not-for-profit organization. Right. So if they want to help, how could they help?
Sure, it's real simple. The one thing about Michael J. Fox Foundation is they have an amazing website, updated every day, top-notch, probably one of the best websites out there. michaeljfox.org, michaeljfox.org. And everything you want to know is there. I mean, because they realized that, and that was the first place I went to when I found out that I had Parkinson's. Everybody basically goes to the Michael J. Fox website because he's so synonymous with Parkinson's. And then there's other organizations that you can go to, but that's this focal point. The day you find out you have Parkinson's, I'd say probably 99.9% of all people who find out that they have Parkinson's, either them or someone in their family goes to the Michael J. Fox website.
And once again, you are scheduled to be featured on the local WBIR NBC network on next Thursday.
Right.
During around about 5:30?
Around 5:30.
5:30. And that will also be the same night that the show debuts, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope everything goes well, but as you know, in the media world, anything could happen, so keep your fingers crossed.
No, we're canceling any breaking news until after your appearance.
Exactly. Please, on Thursday, if anybody's going to do anything crazy or stupid, don't. Or at least wait till after 5:30.
We've got about 2 minutes left. So, as normal can be, you live a fairly normal life, right?
I do live a fairly normal life. I stay very active. I mean, one of the things that helps with Parkinson's is just staying active and working out. I mean, one of the things I do that helps me out a lot is I do boxing therapy, which is basically I hit a punching bag. I try and get it to it every night because it enforces the eye and hand coordination. Because when you hit a bag, I'm going to pretend here it's the bag. When you hit the bag, your eyes, the hand, back to the eye, and you repeat that. And the eye and hand coordination, what they believe is that because the eye and hand coordination, it's a reinforcer, it kind of helps the Parkinson's and it kind of helps reestablish what is lost in the dopamines. So it kind of rebuilds the signal a little bit. It's not a cure, it's far from a cure, but it helps. It does help me. I do have some help with it, but I don't want anyone to think it's a cure. It's not a cure, but it's a good tool. And that's basically what you have. You have a toolbox. That's just one of the many tools I use to try and cope with Parkinson's every day.
I won't say it's courageous because I don't know, but I do appreciate you coming and sharing a part of your life with myself and the audience out there, Dan. And so what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
I want people to take away a couple things. One, if you have a family member with Parkinson's, understand that they're going through a very difficult scenario. And a lot of times when somebody has something happens, you want to help. We always want to help people. If they need to talk to somebody, have them hit me up. Have them go to the Michael J. Fox website. Find, if you know anyone who has Parkinson's and you want to talk or you want to know something about it, go to the Michael J. Fox website. There's a lot of information on that. And there's just a lot of things that will just make life a lot easier for you as a caregiver, and for them as a person who has it. And just, if you know anybody with it, spread the word. Like the Michael J. Fox website. Just visit it, learn more about it, and help us find the cure for Parkinson's.
Thank you, my friend. I wish you well. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk about this.
It's great being here.
We'll be watching on NBC next Thursday at 5:30. That's going to do it for this week, everybody. Have a great week and see you next Friday night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're done.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm getting a widow's peak. I think that went good.
Well, it was honest.
Yeah.
So how else could it be? It wasn't scripted.
Right.
You know. I think I've done enough homework to ask decent questions and
Yeah.
basically shut up and stay out of your way.
Yeah, I spoke 90% of the time.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. And I know somewhere CTV has bloopers.